do. They're going to own their mistakes. They're going to help other people be more accountable.
Probably going to learn faster because they're going to take responsibility.
Absolutely. So with an archetype in the jury room, so we've selected, let's say we've picked a jury, then the goal is what is the overall archetype of the case that's playing out in front of us right here? It's a small person suing a big company. Let's say if I'm on the opposite now, let's say I'm on that lady side, then I'm going to come out with, without ever saying the name, I'm going to come out and I'm going to make you think David and Goliath all day long without knowing that I made you think David and Goliath. I might say giant. I might say someone small. I might say slingshot. I might say all these little key words that are probably in your head about the David and Goliath story, just to plant that narrative in your head. And that might be the first 3 hours of the day. And I've jammed that into your head and you think it's your own idea. Does this make sense so far?
Yeah.
So then the next time I'm going to talk about, maybe it's a deposition or something like that. We'll talk about waiting in line at the DMV. We're going to talk about,
for people that don't know the context there because they're not in the US.
Yeah. So waiting in line at this government identification card office.
Everyone around the world will have some form of that when you've gone to get a passport or whatever.
Yeah. Waiting at passport control. Your doctor's office keeping you waiting for 45 minutes and not caring about your time. We're going to talk about all these situations where a big company is screwing over another person, or a big government doesn't know what the hell they're doing. They're incompetent. Find out which is going to be a good juror and which is a bad juror. But then I have to figure out questions that are covert. How can I covertly ask a question where the opposing counsel, the other attorney, won't know what I desire and what I don't desire based on the answer? So one case I worked for was for a large grocery store company who was being sued because a lady slipped on a green bean. Real shit. And they hired me because it was a big lawsuit. And I want a jury that has an internal locus of control, that they're in charge of their own life. They're responsible for their destiny. And we want to weed out the people that have the opposite. We want to weed out the people that kind of have victim mentality, like the world happens to me, that kind of thing. So we have to figure out, how do I ask a question that A, reveals that, is B, covert, and C, is not going to expose what we're looking for to opposing counsel. So we'll come out with a question like, how does a person catch a cold? And then you get one person that answers, well, these stupid kids picking their boogers, they're wiping on the escalator, they're coughing, sneezing all over the place, people aren't wearing masks. We ask the next guy, how does a person catch a cold? And he says, well, if I've ever caught a cold, I was in a place I shouldn't have been. I didn't wash my hands thoroughly enough. I didn't take care of my body. I didn't take vitamins. I didn't take care of myself. Very, very different. So we know what is satisfactory for us to select a jury. And that's just one thing the file clerk does, and this is a gross generalization, is anything that's pulled out throughout that day, and if it's in one context, the file clerk leaves them all out on the desk. And if I can get enough files, all the files that I want out on that desk, that's going to influence every decision that you make when you go home tonight. So that's kind of the persuasion, except I'm putting it in there in the form of an archetype. And if I get you to think David and Goliath, I want you to think that this is the midpoint of that story, not the end. So if I just get you to think this is probably David and Goliath, this is the middle part of the story. This is when the little kid, the shepherd kid, is walking down the hill to challenge the giant. Your brain comes up with the ending to the story automatically. Mm-hmm. So these archetypes are so woven into us that we think if I could just complete an archetype story, it's justice.
And what does archetype mean?
So an archetype is just like a brand of story.
Okay.
So like a hero's journey.
Like a beginning and middle.
A tragedy. Okay. A loss and return. A rags to riches story. A wounded healer story. All of these classic story types. So there's like 12 story types. Joseph Campbell's talked a lot about this. But if our brains has about 12 of these little archetypes, and if it's like a wounded hero story, and there's a redemption thing at the end, which is called a redemption arc, I'm going to get the audience to see that we're at the 75% mark, right where it's about to happen. And if I just get you to see a situation through the lens of an archetype, your brain automatically not just predicts, but you know how it's going to end. And
So bringing this back to Debbie in Ohio.
Yeah.
How might she use such a strategy in her own life to get the best out of the people she works with or those around her?
Yeah. So you can also use this as a profiling tool. If you take notes on this stuff about people in your office, I would keep them private. But figure out, like, this guy's on you don't even have to know and memorize all these 12 archetypes. What movie are they in? When they talk about their life, what movie are they in? You have that one guy in the office that wants to go on crazy adventures and do stuff that nobody else has done. That's a Back to the Future archetype. You can make up your own archetypes. But if they're doing all of this and everything's going good, what's the next thing they're going to predict? They're going to have a problem coming up in their life. So I know how they're going to predict their future if I just know what story they're in.
Andrew Bustamante, who's that CIA spy who I've had on the show a few times, told me about his RICE framework in espionage: reward, ideology, coercion, and ego. Reward being the things you want, like money; ideology being, doing this is good for your family, doing this is good for your country. The C being coercion, which is pressurizing people, and the E being ego. He said of all four of these, ideology, like understanding someone's ideology, is the most persuasive for when he was a spy. And the way that I've kind of conceptualized that and maybe built upon it a little bit, and I'm saying that because I don't want to be butchering his idea, is I think everybody has a hero's journey that they're on right now. And when you're meeting them to get them to, maybe come